Good morning. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay this time. Mike's coming in to say hello over my shoulder, so he's checking up on us this morning. Mike, you can say hi. No, this is the vault. So anyways, I kind of feel like when I'm looking at your faces that I'm preaching to the choir a little bit with this, because I feel like most of you guys in here could probably tell me a thing or two about being more organized, but it is what it is. So here are my tips for teachers. So I thought this was really neat. Organization is not about perfection. It's about efficiency, reducing stress and clutter, saving time and money, and improving your overall quality of life. So I guess in terms of why I chose to share this with you guys is the thought that organization from one person to another is not a cookie cutter kind of thing. What works for me may not work for you. You guys may think that what I do is silly and takes way too much time or whatever. But hopefully I can just share some tips that maybe if they don't help you, might help you to help someone else improve their overall quality of life. That's definitely the goal. So the first thing are some tips for your schedule. So managing your work week. So first of all, we should have a Zoom plan. Every teacher should have a Zoom plan. It's definitely not the kind of thing that you just fly by the seat of your pants with. So we should have a plan. I would suggest strongly that no one schedule one-on-one sessions with students on Fridays unless it's an absolute emergency, because Fridays are supposed to be work days for us, meeting days for us that don't involve a lot of student Zoom time. So be protective of that time and use that to your benefit to get as much done on Fridays as you can. So your Zoom schedule should definitely be set up to benefit your students and to meet their needs, but you also need to have some time in there for yourself. If you can carve out a little time to have a restroom break, to have lunch, whatever, try really hard not to work through those times, because it's important for you to get up and keep blood flow to your legs, which I'm not real great about doing. So try not to work through those times and be sure to plan ahead. Like I said, Zoom is not the time to just fly by the seat of your pants or to wing it. You need to have a plan in mind. Once you have a Zoom schedule established, you can start to plan the rest of your days around your Zoom times. So my suggestions are to have specific days or times where you know you have a little bit more of a window than others that you can use for weekly tasks, like making sure your grades are up to date, making sure you've contacted facilitators, making sure you've taken care of your guardian contacts. So I find it really helpful to start every day with a to-do list. I try to do that the afternoon before and just prioritize things that definitely need to be taken care of the following day. And in doing that, I also find it really important to try to stay on a task until it's complete. Even though there are a lot of interruptions through the day, even though you may have to stop what you're doing to take care of a Zoom session or to attend a meeting or to do whatever, try to go back to whatever it was that you were working on that you didn't finish before you hop around to something else, because that just saves you a lot of time in the long run. So staying on task. As far as your organization is concerned, just a couple tips for managing your inbox and your files, because I get a little bit overwhelmed when I see notifications that there are a million emails in an inbox, or whatever the case may be. I'm one of those that I just can't take it. So as far as your inbox is concerned, find a folder system that works for you. What I do is I have a folder with everybody's name. So chances are I have a folder with your name on it in my inbox. When an email comes in from whoever that person is, I read the email when I'm able to, respond if I need to, and then it goes in that person's folder. I have folders that are resource type things, like things that I use frequently, like ideas, PD certificates, whatever the case may be. If I list a facilitator, which I have all of my facilitators have a folder also, I include their school name with their name. So it's easy for me to just search in my inbox for that school name. And if it's a new facilitator or if there's several, then those are sorted out of my entire inbox list and I can see them more easily. So the other thing I've already kind of mentioned is to clean out your inbox. I just feel like it's so overwhelming to have a full inbox all the time. It stresses me. So when I've read or responded to messages, I move them out of my inbox, and the only ones that stay in there are ones that require some future action. So in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you can see yesterday afternoon, when I kind of finalized what I was doing today, I only had 3 emails in my inbox, and those were things that needed some future action. Everything else had already been gone through and filed away where it needed to be filed. The other thing as far as emails are concerned is to minimize your click and make sure that you minimize your responses. This just saves you time in the long run, and it makes sure that your responses kind of carry more weight with the person that is receiving it on the other end. So gather whatever information you need, fix whatever issues need to be fixed, whatever the case may be, before you respond to a message, unless you're responding to say you need additional information. That just saves you time in the long run. As far as Google Drive is concerned, this is kind of just a simple thing, but I'm big on folders. You guys are going to pick up on that. But you definitely also need a folder system that works for you in your Google Drive. File pretty much everything that you have in Google Drive. There's not going to be a lot. If you have a good folder system, there won't be a lot that you can't put in some type of folder. It makes it a lot easier to find what you need later on if the things that are alike are, grouped together. So if a document is shared with you that you might want or need to edit, make sure you make a copy of that first, and then you put your copy where it should go. And finally, make sure that you use Google Drive as a mass storage device to back up your computer and to back it up often. So I'm pretty bad about saving everything to my computer, and just out of old school habit, I've tried to really redirect myself in the last year or two to use Google Drive a lot more and to use it for backup because it's always there. And then finally, your computer. Again, a folder system is important. I'm sure you guessed that. So I use a main folder underneath my documents. It's labeled by the school year. And then within that main folder, I have other folders for the courses that I teach, for weekly grade reports, for PD certificates, whatever the case may be. And a lot of those have subfolders inside those as well. I use my desktop as kind of a mobile reminder system. So if there's something that I know I need to take care of today, or I'm going to use later today, or I'm going to need tomorrow, a lot of times I'll save whatever that is to my desktop, just kind of as a reminder that, hey, this needs attention. And I don't have a lot of other things saved to my desktop, so it stands out. And then finally, super important, remember to back up your computer. I'm so bad about not doing this as often as I should. But we definitely should all be doing it. Just make it a part of your Friday task because it really stinks to lose things that you have on your computer that you wouldn't have lost otherwise. So some tips for organizing your people and numbers, managing your students, your schools, and grading. You guys have heard before that I have the master spreadsheet. So the master spreadsheet is just a compilation of things that I just keep every year, where one sheet does everything for me. So anything that I need to know, it's kind of all in one place. So I have a tab or a page. I don't know what that noise is, y'all. I have a page for modifications, where I have a summary of all my students with modifications, what their modifications are, that sort of thing. Then I have a tab for each of my courses that I'm teaching. If there's some extra something that goes along with that course, like Algebra 1 last year, I had IXL username and passwords. I had a tab where I kept those things, just all in the same place. So I pretty much had just this one file that I kept up to date all the time. And if I needed something, chances are I could look at that one file and find it. Use a grading log. I can't emphasize this enough for new Moodle teachers especially. It just helps you keep track of your students' submissions and to know where to start with things like discussion questions or other teacher graded items. It just helps you manage what you have to keep up with. So I have all of the dates listed for the semester with all of the assignments listed for the semester. There's a break in between modules, and then there's a break at the 9 weeks. So I just kind of have a visual cue that this is a break time. I have the last day to submit work for the 9 weeks outlined in red, so that date stands out to me from everything else. And this just stays on my desk all the time. So anytime I'm grading, whenever I take a look at that assignment, I just jot down how many attempts are there. So the next time I go in, if I look at that same assignment and the number of attempts are the same, I know there's not anything I have to hunt through to to try to grade, and I can just quickly move on without digging through student information. Our weekly summaries that we send to, or weekly emails that we send to facilitators, I try really hard to train my facilitators to expect to hear from me on Fridays with student updates and reminders for the upcoming week. I try hard not to bug them during the week unless it's something that's major that's necessary. After I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from facilitators over the last year or so, I decided to just create kind of a standard template for my updates that I refill every week with appropriate information. So you can kind of see a little bit of my standard template there. I tell them what attachments they should expect to see included with that email, whatever important reminders there are for the week that's upcoming, like this was a holiday or a lot of your students aren't coming to Zoom, whatever the case may be. And then if there's something new that's included with the student progress updates that I send to them, I'll just indicate what that is also. So try to keep important things separated to give them a visual break and to keep things kind of concise. Use your white space for break and for emphasis. And again, it's just helpful for you to kind of have something already together that you can use from week to week. Your environment. So some tips for minimizing and maximizing your environment. In terms of your efficiency, it's important to know the things that distract you. So if you have a clock that ticks, if you have your phone has a GroupMe app that your son's baseball team goes nuts on every day and you get 50 notifications from them every day, your chair makes your back hurt, your mother-in-law calls you every day at 10 o'clock, whatever the deal is that's a distraction for you that takes your time, know what those things are and do what you can to minimize those things. Kind of the opposite of that is know what helps you focus. So if music helps you be more productive when you have just a little window of time, then belt out whatever it is that helps you focus more. And then finally, as far as productive time is concerned, know when you are most productive and take advantage of that. So I'm not an early bird by any means. It would not do me any good to get up at 4 in the morning and try to work at that time because my clock doesn't even have a 4 a.m. I'm just telling you, it just skips over that time. So I am more of a night owl, and there are a lot of times that I just don't sleep well. So there are times when I can work and get a tremendous amount done between midnight and 1 o'clock or between 10 and midnight or something like that. After I've had time with my family, after everyone else is in bed, you know, the house is quiet, there's nothing going on, I can work like a mad woman and get a whole day's worth of work done in a very short time period. So I just encourage you to use those productive times, but don't use them as at a sacrifice to your family. So if you're most productive during family time, you need to figure out another most productive time. And then finally, your sanity. So just a couple tips for hanging on to it, because sometimes we all feel like we're just hanging by a thread. So use templates. A little time that you spend on reusable things is worth it. Don't reinvent the wheel. So if you can find or make one really awesome lesson template to use in Zoom for the whole year, then do that. If you can make a template for your facilitator contacts or for your student contacts or whatever, copy and paste is your friend. Just make sure you update what you've copied and pasted. Know what makes you feel good. So start your day with a bucket filler. If having a 5-minute devotional time, walking your dog, having a 5-minute dance party, texting your best friend first thing in the morning, whatever it is that makes you feel good to start your day with, try to start your day with that. Just start your day a little earlier to make sure you have time for that and don't use it as a reason to be late. Your life. Remember that there's life on the outside of this kind of odd world that we live in sometimes. We all get stressed and dragged down and overwhelmed. So it's important to understand that what we do is, it's big. We do a big job and no one can really understand it until they've done it. But we do have to remember that the people that are in our lives are what matters most or should matter most to all of us. So we have to remember that we have a life outside of the things we do and take time for it. To quote Mr. Ashworth, one of the best things we can do is go love on our family. So we're all better workers, we're all better teachers, we're all happier people when we're fulfilled outside of our job. And finally, ask. Don't struggle by yourself. If there's something that you need help with, if you're stuck, if you don't know what to do, whatever, ask somebody. Chances are someone else has been through it. They've survived it. Obviously, they're still breathing, and they may be able to give you some help that can really get you on track.
Thank you so much, Paula. That was awesome. I think that even if we hadn't know these things, it was good to hear some of these things, especially at this point. And especially after a 4-day week, when I feel like maybe there were some things that probably, I even commented yesterday to Mr. Bowler that the whirlwind got the best of me this week, and I didn't get to things on my WIG, the goals I'd set for this week. So